Yeah, tip your. Hey, now we're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Woo.
hello. Welcome, Army.
Welcome,
Hello,
Army.
hello, everyone.
Look who's
Hello,
back with
Nisha.
me today.
It's been a while.
It's been a
Hello,
while.
everyone. I'm so happy to be back. Borje Army. And I'm very excited to be back with Nisha for episode 12 of Living Bank 10.7. Living Bank 10.7 is a platform that the team has created to bring you wellness discussions, content, musings based on the healing positive messages of Bank 10 Sonia Den. We have our opening reel.
Yep, I'm about to play it.
All right, I'm very excited. I love this. Is one of my favorite parts.
I always tell them how there's not one time I watch it, it doesn't make us cry. So that's the thing. All right, my dears, Borje, and welcome. Be right back.
Welcome. So happy to see you.
We are bulletproof.
I'm okay to play it again.
I know. It really does kind of get you going when you kind of listen to that, huh?
It just absolutely does.
It
It
pumps
just
you up. Well,
okay.
much like many songs, right? So,
The word
the name means for living bulletproof 24/7. And our purpose, of course, led by the wonderful Nisha, is to help us all learn how to live confidently with self-love throughout the day, protected by the support and love of BTS and Army.
Yay. Oh my goodness. What a week it's been.
But, I mean,
Yeah,
someone's the content is just amazing, amazing right now.
I was commenting on my friend's post today uh,
Mm.
about the word hiatus. It no longer means hiatus. Hiatus now means freely giving up your right to sleep and to put money in the bank.
Oh my gosh. I
Am I
mean,
right, Army? Am I right?
I know. Even just the Festa merch that looks like it's coming out is all about relaxing, right? It's like having a picnic, lying out in the sun, getting ready, for your summer. So
I love
I
it.
think we're definitely encouraging, the
I have the picnic
the
basket
relaxing part.
from last year, and my daughter and her partner claimed it. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna use this." I was like, "Okay." So now I need to see if I could get the the other thing so it'll go with it. It's really adorable. I love the concept and the flow of what it is they've been creating for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking back at the Festa merch from the past years, and
Right.
in general, and then we're going to go into the show, but I was gonna, because this is part of our, we have a new opening sequence as well, Angela, since you came on. We talk about what's been happening in the world of Bangtan. So why don't we take a second, let me go into my little thingy, and then we're going to get to that segment real quick, okay,
Definitely.
where we talk about
Mhm.
what's happened for the week. We had
Yep.
decided we were going to do it early because it's really too much.
It is.
This is too much. So guys, hello everyone. Borje, love to everyone. This is Nisha T, your CEO, and whatever else you want to call me, for diverselygeek.org, nonprofit mental wellness, diversity, and self-care organization that teaches you to embrace your inner geek. And for us, with
Mhm.
LB7, that would be Bangtan. So, and as you know, LB7 is a reminder of the power the bulletproof or Bangtan philosophy has as a source of healing, healthy coping, and a support when we are struggling to believe in ourselves. Army, how are you doing today? Army, how are you? Do you see me? I see
Mhm.
you. I had to do it. All I could think of was my hobby.
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
Angela, I'm doing it today.
You do it. Yeah, you can do that. You do that wonderfully.
So happy to be back with you again this week. So happy that it's been so many weeks in a row. as we continue and complete our 4-part series, Haegeum. But also to give you the really big, stupendous news about what did we launch today, Angela, also named Haegeum. Do you want to tell them?
I have to find my notes.
It begins with a P.
Why am I having a total blank?
You're okay. We've been doing so much. So you're going to be getting a schedule of all of the launches and the new things that we've done here at Living Bangtan 7. And effective today, our podcast is live on YouTube.
Sorry, yes, that's very exciting.
And our
So
podcast,
there's so much going on. I mean,
going on. It's really hard for everyone to catch up with my mind. I'm a very honest person about that. So our podcast went live on, it's all of our 12 shows. I should have done it at 10, but we wanted to do it in honor, of course, for Festa 2023 and the anniversary. And it will be going live on Spotify coming up pretty soon as well.
That's amazing.
So what's going to happen with that is with YouTube, you're going to get these. You're going to get the live shows that we've had here. So the YouTube podcast will physically have these live shows. The Spotify is also going to have our Twitter spaces. So you're going to get more content through the Spotify and through Spreaker and Apple podcasts because we actually have accounts with everyone. Yeah. So that's
very exciting.
That's going to be insane. Twitter spaces that we're going to be bringing you for our festival is going to be insane. I'm so excited. Yeah. And those conversations, you'll be able to access them on our podcast internationally throughout the world.
That's awesome.
So our conversation on lifting our Haegeum on mental health. What self-care actually means in the stages of trauma recovery is what we talked about last week. Okay, you're up, Angela. And it's a lot to talk about, so sorry.
No worries. So this is today, we're going to chat about BTS and how they become a credible source of wellness. I think a lot of us probably have, some kind of wellness journey that we've been on, maybe parallel with BTS's journey as well, but with their support. I think that, we all probably have some kind of personal journey that we can talk about. Recognition. Do you want to talk about them separately, or you want to do recognition?
So these are the 4 phases of each of those series. Recognition was the first, grounding was the second, the third was transition, and acknowledgement is today. So actually today. So as we know, we've thought about this, and I may post this as an article on our website coming up because it's been a lot of content, and it would be a lot for Army to kind of hold on to, even if they looked at the tiles. So we may post it as an article format so they can read it. We began recognition, where we must first recognize that mental health is equally as important as physical health, and emotional health. And then grounding we talked about and then you can read the one after grounding because I didn't write that one. Grounding, as you well know, is one of the biggest strategies that we need. Each of these are tactics and strategies, and that'll help their stages in trauma recovery. Grounding was finding out your own strategy for you to be able to put your feet back on the ground and feel balanced again when you feel like the world is spinning around you. And we just talk about one, a picnic, a relaxation technique. And then you want to let them know about the next one?
Were you on acknowledgement?
Acknowledgement, yeah.
Yes, this one, is really interesting because we all have struggles and we have challenging moments, kind of the ups and downs of how our lives go. And I think really that BTS has shown us to face these, acknowledging our challenges before we're prepared to deal with them and then move forward. And I think that's maybe some steps that sometimes people kind of, I'll just ignore it and I'll just put it, to the back of my mind, or I'll just kind of, but I think acknowledging, like you have there is something really important. Acknowledge that you're going through a challenging time. Acknowledge maybe what that challenge is and the steps to get through it. I mean, it might be something small, like you're not doing well in your job or at school, but it could be something large, like a large health challenge or something like that. And really to face it is probably harder sometimes than kind of what's on the other side, right? Correct. So fixing, and I think acknowledgement, like you said, is a really important part of that journey.
So I was telling you why I put it last. A lot of people as they teach these stages or the phases or the steps will put acknowledgement and recognition way at the beginning. I
Okay.
wanted people to understand that they're technically two different things. Recognizing that the world around you and your space within it, and that there are parts of yourself that are worthy of moving on and valued, so that you can actually engage yourself in your healing, is very important. Acknowledging is a little teeny bit different because this is more personal. There's a wider space. So there's recognizing things about you and your spatial awareness of who you are. In acknowledgement, it's about acknowledging this person here, yourself, and understanding that the pain, the stressors, the fear, anger, they aren't you.
Right.
Is that tickling your mind about something that has to do with D-Day, guys? They don't define your truth or potential. And the BTS has shown us that even though they have been through some of the hardest moments people can possibly face, harsh criticism, ridicule, negativity, and have had to work through that in order to come out on the other side, they've always felt that they have learned through those challenges. What they have fought with was, I want to say, acknowledgement. They recognize that, but to get to a place of transition, there's acknowledgement. And I know it may sound a little strange, but in the context of how we're talking about it today, acknowledging that this human being that is here has gone through these challenges, and that you are actually not responsible for fixing any of the things that came from that. What you are responsible for is this person's happiness. And where did we hear about all of that when it came to BTS? So the solo era. So we're going to talk about that a little bit in that next little prompt.
Right. Well,
down here, yeah, you can.
So every solo project, right, has been an example of acknowledgement, like you said. Their own recognizing that they are responsible for themselves, each individually, and each member over the last year has really peeled away layers of their own mental and emotional struggles. So we had Namjoon's Wildflower, which definitely, I think, had songs on that that speaks to what you're saying. Hobie's Arson, right?
Yep.
Yoongi's D-Day, of course. Jimin's Alone, JK's Weaver's Lives, where they've really kind of bared, I guess, themselves kind of open, right?
Yeah,
and showed
absolutely.
Showed us really a whole nother side of them. But I mean, each one of those solo albums, I don't think I was ready for them to be as raw, or the music to be as raw and really open to showing ARMY about how much they'd gone through. And I feel like they've had maybe a huge weight lifted off of them by going through this process, and probably a bit of it, songwriting and producing and things like that to them was like therapeutic, to kind of get some of that.
Yes. So when we're going to talk about that, I think just so ARMY understands, just above that prompt, what did we launch yesterday? Our
Festa.
Yes. So we officially launched our Festa yesterday, although today is our first technically full engaged part of that.
Right.
I am so sorry. I don't know why I'm dealing with this still. It's been a little crazy. Last week, my laryngitis was so you could hear it. You could fully hear it in my voice. That was for screaming. So, hey. I told people I fully expected to leave that last concert with no voice, So,
oh, yeah. This is true.
I recognize that part of myself. But our Festas launched this entire project that we're doing, which is technically a month-long project. It's almost 30 solid days of bringing you prompts and shows and discussions and panels and events and fun. Man, it's fun. Let me just say, we're not all that serious. Wait, our games that you're going to be getting over our 2.5 days of Festa are pretty ridiculously fun, and they're going to challenge your brain. So, ARMY, Please, please.
Mhm.
Angela, tell them what they need to prepare. Tell them what they need to study to get ready for this.
The whole discography. I mean, working on, the lyrics. I mean, we've been tying the lyrics, contest into like wellness lyrics. And there's just so many and so many of their songs that are meant to like tell you, acknowledge, right? You'll get through this. You can do this. There's things on the other side. Yeah.
Sorry, I just realized what I froze on up there because I was looking it in the mirror. It's Festa from 2021.
2021 Festa.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, thinking just, when you really look at, not just the more recent songs, but if you kind of go, all the way back, there's a lot of songs that they wrote that are maybe at that time we didn't realize it, but now, you really can see that they're really sharing a lot with us about acknowledging trauma and things that they've been going through.
So by taking a look at our own 4 stages, I think Angela is really getting to understand a little bit about why we chose these particular formats for the games, and then how the scavenger hunt's going to be run. Because technically, it's kind of toggled straight into the 4-part Haegeum series, but it is fun. But let me tell you, we are challenging you guys. Your brains are going to just sorry.
Well, and I'm really excited to try something different. Like I'm not always like a Namjooning person, right? But for me, I'm very excited for something like that to kind of maybe come a little outside my comfort zone. And instead of trying something that I'm in my little safety zone. I'm very, and hopefully, some Army will try to join us on some of those that are a little challenging too, right?
Yep. And you and I are decided that we're bringing them our Namjoon with Us Army experience as a live event next week.
Yay!
So what you're going to see from Angela and I, in place of a show per se, is going to be some live walk with us moments where we're going to talk about we can't tell you now. We kind of should we tell them where we're going?
I know. I think you could give a little hint.
Okay, you give a little hint. Because you're planning it. It's your surprise. Oh.
I mean, for me, like, so I get really emotional sometimes when I visit places that are really special, right? And so one of the most special performances in a video that I've ever seen is Black Swan. And Black Swan has such a message. The choreography of it, even if you didn't even hear any lyrics being sung, just the choreography and the music is beautiful. So hopefully we're going to be visiting the inside of that theater. We've booked the theater. So I'm very excited to see that and kind of be able to, I mean, it makes me kind of emotional sometimes when you visit places like that have kind of a real iconic part.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the places we're visiting and how they connect straight back to their acknowledgement and their self-recognition, and how Black Swan as a song, even I took a few minutes to say, wait, what were they telling me here? And then I was like, oh my God, they just told us about their inner beauty and how they just told us that they're recognizing that that's there. They told us that there are 2 sides of that mirror. So we'll talk more about that later.
Very exciting though.
It is. It's going to be crazy. And we have at least 2 other, I think, places we're going to be going.
Well, we're going to be Namjooning around Los Angeles.
So Namjoon with Us Army, hashtag. So on the 10th, we are launching hashtag Namjoon with Us Army. It's going to be a prompt for 10 days. So for the 10th to the 20th, you put it out. And what you do with those prompts is you look at the Namjoon icon that we have. And we call it Namjooning, but just so you know, because you've watched my shows, y'all know I call it Bangtaning as well. Because I feel like I Bangtan around the world. So So what we're going to be doing is giving you icons for things that the OT7 has done, actually. And they're going to be prompts that are actually a little outside the normal of just visiting a place. It's
Mhm.
it's so much different than that. But what that does then, it gives you an idea of how to be able to do something similar to that, that's a little out of the box in
Yeah.
terms of your wellness. And then,
Right.
what we asking you to do is take a group of pictures and then put
Mhm.
them in a little collage and post them out. So the
Mhm.
armies who post out that they've done all 10 days worth of those prompts are
Mhm.
going to be put into a little pot for us to choose names, and two people
Mhm.
get to win a prize for that.
Mhm.
For each of our games, which is going to be, it's called Oh My, do you know these microcosmic lyrics? It's also going to be held over 2 days. Those lyrics,
Mhm.
the Army have 1 hour to complete it using a Google form. We give you the Google form. We give you the cues, and we then give you 1 hour to complete. Sorry, guys.
Mhm.
Sorry. And the ones who complete, that doesn't mean we're gonna not take all of them. We won't. But
Yeah.
the ones that complete in the fastest and the most accurate, there's a scoring system, but it
Mhm.
just have fun with it. And
Yeah.
then we have an iconic dance choreo game coming, and then we have an iconic name that tune. But what did we call it? We called it, oh, what the heck? I can't even remember the name of what we call that right now.
Well,
We
I mean, people will be surprised. I think you don't think that you can recognize some of those songs from like a 5-second tune, but
it's
yeah,
literally a 5 second. It's some of them may not even fit 5 seconds because they might
yeah,
be
true,
easy to find. So we're
real.
going to be doing those over 2 days, and then
Mhm.
we'll be hosting our Twitter Spaces, the two open forum live platforms where
Mhm.
Army can call in and talk to us. We will
Yeah,
have mental wellness specialists on our Twitter Spaces. So
that's amazing. Mhm.
we are not consulting. We're not, we're professionals, but we're
Yeah,
not going to be talking about it or doing consulting. Nothing
right,
like that clinical.
right.
But we do have the ability to probably take questions about things that you may need a little more information on, and then we can always get back to you on it. So we will have
Mhm.
a panel of specialists on each of those Twitter Spaces.
That's great.
I am really hoping we can reach as many people as possible with this. And we are already 15 minutes into the show. I just really wanted everyone to understand the
Yeah,
beautiful nature of what we're doing.
yeah.
We, you want to go ahead into the next thing, and I'm going to show them the, really quickly. So yesterday we launched the very first of our Festa, and
Mhm.
it is called, I am going to add the image. While you go to the next thing, I'll get it for them. Okay.
So, did you want to talk a little bit more about, kind of being what you have is talking about tethered or being bound to
Yes,
trauma?
that's where we're at right now. Go ahead and
Yeah,
let's go
and
straight
I was,
into it. Sounds good.
yeah, I was thinking, um, a little bit kind of connecting a bit to what the members have kind of gone through, whether it's physical abuse, emotional abuse,
Yep.
mental abuse, right? They do create a fear. And I think some of them have been, like you've talked about this before, very upfront, about things that they've gone through in terms of their mental wellness up and down over the years through different things. I mean, of course, I think we got a clear message for them during COVID, and kind of what they had gone through a lot,
Mm.
just in terms of being kind of by themselves, and things like a lot of people had gone through. And I think that even now, you're seeing that, Jungi letting go. Like, you saw this, I didn't see this, in his Japan live stream.
Hmm.
You said that you saw something that he talked about there. Was he talking about anger,
He did.
um,
So
and his feeling
he
of
said it
anger?
a couple times through the show. For
Okay.
even we were able to talk, to tap in and see that,
Okay.
where he said that he was making a choice about letting go of his anger. But then
Mm,
yesterday he said definitively, while we were watching, I heard the words. He was like, and I think I captured it in images where he said about, Army, I've decided that anger is not going to be the thing that leads me.
mm,
And it was just such a beautiful statement for him to make in that moment. He, in his Japan, even though he was struggling physically because,
yeah.
he was
He
struggling with
was.
the throat
Yeah.
and the cough and
Yeah.
all these things, just the fact that he was um, happily saying to us, that's the best way I can put it. Does that make sense? He was happily saying to us, Army, this is not my life anymore. My life is not about holding on to the anger. My life is about making everyone happy and being happy. That was my interpretation, because I'm kind of, like saying it in my way. But what I just was so extremely moved at his choice to say to us that I am going to,
I mean, it's hard to speculate what the root causes of that was, we could speculate, over the years, but I mean, for him to acknowledge, like you said, that he was definitely struggling with anger, which also a lot of times can be coupled with depression, and things like that. Yeah. And for him, I mean, we saw him on this tour, and he looked like a different person. I mean, he looked so joyful.
He did.
He had some smiles on him that I don't recall seeing as much in PTD in Vegas, LA. I don't recall seeing him as joyful.
Interesting thing is I didn't even recall seeing him at the Festa dinner last year that way. He was saying to us at the Festa dinner with the announcement that he had been questioning why he was doing something. It had become a monotone, it had become monotonous in their existence. The same way that Namjoon was saying it. And Jin was talking to us about his burnout and understanding that Abyss had come from that space. Whoa. And then Jimin's talking to us later on. Where we heard it was in Suchita, actually. So in the Suchita episode, or Archita episode that he did with Namjoon, he talked about how anger had been a very strong lead for them. Because of the amount of stress that as kids they were dealing with on a regular basis. The more I think about it, as a parent, as a teacher, as an educator, the more I feel, how did they come out on the other side the way that they have? Then I read the prompts that they sent us this week. You remember the 7 statements that they put out? I didn't get a chance to grab it from the BTS Instagram, but Namjoon's prompt at the top said, "Army, you raised us. We are well and well because you raised us. We are because Army raised us." If you remember him saying that. And then I was like, I know we say it oftentimes. It's like we're 50 million, family members to them, but they're constantly acknowledging that. Acknowledging now that for them to move to that next stage, they recognize that the human beings they are today are because Army as this whole soul unit has helped to raise them, has helped to, because I remember Namjoon saying in Weverse Live so many times, I remember he said this in a show 3 years ago, he said, people ask me about my wellness and how how do I figure things out? And I sometimes have to think about it. And he said, but you need to understand, Army will come on here when we're having a struggle and we talk about it, and they will be our family. They will be our therapy. They'll be like, you got this, Namjoon. It's okay for you to do this, Namjoon. Go out and just be yourself, Namjoon. Take your time. Be this person. No, he said it last year, as a matter of fact. It was just this year. It's a matter of fact.
I mean, for him, I think also coupled that you see him now more physically taking care of himself more than I thought. There was some time, where he didn't seem as much. But now, I mean, I think all of them seem to be also physically taking better care of themselves. I mean, Yoongi looked great. He looked physically, there were times, where you could just see it, being, sad. It kind of takes over your physical well-being as well. But I mean, I think that he really looked rejuvenated in some ways, and maybe kind of
like that word. That's a good
that. I mean, like you've come through some of the darkness. I'm not saying that they're through everything, or I'm sure that there's always going to be, like we all do, right? We have our ups and downs, but he really felt. I mean, I felt like there were times, snippets of that like really, really young Yoongi, and that's just what I felt like seeing him.
But and I think we're going to probably bring this to a different conversation. Maybe
Mm.
we'll make it our next show, and
Mm.
it will not be. It's still a Haegeum, but I think it's going to be a new series.
Mm.
Acknowledgement in and of itself as its own series is what I
Mm.
believe we need to do at this point because of how large this
Yep.
conversation is.
Yeah.
You and I talked about how the Weavers' lives
Mm-hmm.
literally represent acknowledgement. Each
Mm.
of them in those moments, whether it's Tay's 2 minutes, maybe he's not in a space right now
Yeah.
where he
Yeah.
needs to give us more than that part of who he is, and
Yeah.
that's fine. Why should he? He doesn't have to
Yeah.
do any of that, you
No.
know. But that line we started with, Army, do you see me? I see you, from Hobie. It's
Mm-hmm.
so telling and meaningful of
Mm-hmm.
what the connection that we have and how important we are
Mm-hmm.
in helping them
Mm-hmm.
with the transition phases that we talked about last week.
Right.
Okay, so I know we digress, but I'm going to show you our 10 days prompt,
Yeah.
and I want everyone to see this has actually been translated into multiple languages. Let me let you and I actually turn off our
Camera.
cameras. Why are we? I'm so sorry. Something is going on with my. Gotcha. Let's turn off our camera. Why is it not doing what it's supposed to? That is very weird. Okay, hang on. I'm going to put it in the right space. Give me a second. I didn't realize it was going to do that. Interesting. It went in as background.
Oh, I see.
That's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
cool. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, you just like Hobie's face,
I was like, I love it. Hey, listen, I'll just look at Hobie's face all day. I have no issue with that whatsoever.
That's true.
Just give me, I'm not lying.
I know. I definitely know. His sweet little profile.
That sweet little profile of his is my little between him and Jinnah. Oh my God. And Namjoon's pictures have been just killing me right now. Oh my God. Okay. So here we go. So here are the prompts. So, so basically what we've done is we've asked you to share an iconic BTS moment or activity for the wellness prompt that you see for the 10 days that are here. So I gave you examples on the side of how you could write these for yourself. And then basically what you're doing then is you're engaging in one of those prompts or activities on your own based on your understanding. So let's just say yesterday was self-value. So we have a little catching up to do, Army. Try something that encourages you to value yourself, like a mani-pedi or a Udemy class. But if you think about it, the vlogs, so Bangtan made vlogs of themselves. On the right, you'll see it up here, enjoying new activities, woodwork, jewelry, cooking, travel, and seeing iconic art. Those actually all fall into the category of self-valuing in this way, where they allowed themselves to be able to be inspired to try something new that then builds on their self-value. Then we have self-truth, which is today, my friends. So we're going to be actually doing this live as part of one of our Twitter spaces, and excuse me, one of our shows next week for the Festa. It's creating a vision board with fun things that fuel your energy and true passions. The boys actually have been working on vision boards for years, haven't they, Angela? They
all definitely try things. I think, outside of, I don't know if it's outside their comfort zone all the time, but just something different, right? We see JK playing the drums, or, we see different, sides of them, definitely.
Well, I'm going to say flying yoga was outside of their comfort zone.
That's true. Very true.
So,
well, I shared with you something that is so outside my realm of anything. Do you remember what I shared with you yesterday?
Which one? Tell me. Yes.
My guitar lessons.
Your guitar lessons.
And I was learning butter. Although it didn't really sound like butter.
Well, on guitar, I can understand why it wouldn't sound like butter.
Well, yeah, they have the chords, but, for me, I would just encourage people to, think about something like I probably wanted to play music instruments since I was in single digits, and to do something at my over 50 now to try something. I mean, my guitar teacher was shocked when he opened the door and first saw me. And he's
Why?
like, all right. But now he says, we have so much fun. And you could see him in the background, singing with me too. And I think that it's like an hour a week of just something that I just always wanted to. I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably never play guitar outside of my living room, but
Mm-hmm.
something that I always have wanted to try to
Well,
do. And I
don't
would,
say that yet. Don't say that yet. So
well,
self-truth is about
yeah,
saying, I value myself enough to go ahead and try this thing, or I
yeah,
value my own potential.
yeah,
Self-truth is, I have this potential. It's okay
mhm,
to say you're not going to be, you may not do great at it. Like,
mhm,
I can dance, but I won't be a dancer because of my physical limits.
mhm,
And my stamina
mhm,
just doesn't work for that. But I dang well
mhm,
like to dance, right?
mhm,
But do I do it in front of people? I actually have a hard time doing it. My brother always told me the
mhm.
day you get up in front of people and dance freely and openly is the day you're going to understand your truth. And that's what I had in mind when I will cry. uh,
Yeah.
what I had in mind. And it was something I think Jin had to go through. Um,
Mm.
and I actually think, oh my God, I don't even like Suchita's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be beautiful, though.
Yeah, but I'll be a puddle. I might have to take off of work.
I know. Yeah.
I might have to call out.
Well, it's bittersweet, right? Because we were all so worried, and he's done so amazing.
Yeah.
He's done really amazing since he's been there. I mean, he's really been a leader.
So that's talking about trauma and trauma recovery and
Yeah.
acknowledgement. So we're talking about the same acknowledgement about letting go of fear and anxiety, but
Yeah.
not anxiety as a whole, right? Because that's part of our wheel and we need
Right.
to have anxiety, but about the
Right.
fear and the anger that holds you back from getting up there. This is a
Yeah.
boy that you're going to hear him on. He said it in the teaser. I knew none of these things. I have asked how many times have I said this to you, Angela? I have said this to you so many times. How did that man
Mm.
go through his idol training?
Yeah.
Always feeling that
Yeah.
sense of not being up to par. How
Yep.
did he do it? I
He
want
has
that
said that
man to
so
tell
much,
us.
right?
Mm.
Stand, make him in the back. He just couldn't connect the feet to the singing, to the dance.
But he did. He did it
Yeah.
by the time they debuted. And
Right.
I will never say anything differently. The fact that
Right.
he was able to do those moves on debut, I look at them, I peel away at them. I try to
Right.
dance and it's a struggle for me. So
Yeah.
part of self-reflection, which is tomorrow, is going to be talking about D-Day. So
Okay.
look at Jungi's D-Day. And so
Mhm.
we're talking on we jumped into the set list at this point.
Yeah.
We're not following the full format, but we're kind of going with our prompts to help everyone understand where the set list falls in this and how their activities. Is that okay? Are you good with
Yeah.
doing it?
Yeah, definitely.
So if you think about self-reflection and you look at D-Day, I can't say the words out loud because we're not supposed to because we're live. However, this is going to be a D-Day is coming and it's a good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fact is, I remember Jin saying that his D-Day was, I mean, he's had many D-Days. I think all of his pre-enlistment engagements he did out in the live shows,
Mhm.
parts of his D-Day, But
Yeah.
he said that it came for him with Bultorumi. And the lines that he had to sing were the things that woke him up.
Mm.
And he completely shifted his sense of awareness of who he was. So in his self-reflection moments, so we talked about self-truth, the vision board, or something we're going to actively show you. And now you understand a little bit about self-truth and
Mhm.
self-reflection. Who do you think also use self-reflection in an acknowledgement type of way?
Mm. Mm.
That's a good one out of the 7. Well, I did write at the bottom that Taeyang said trying new things and being immersed in a new experience brings us joy. He didn't
It's true.
he didn't say that you do it well.
No, this is true. Well,
Mhm.
he's always, you see him dabbling and different saxophone, and wasn't he playing the horn and in the soup?
Yep.
And you do see them, and I really, it's amazing that they feel I don't know, it's not really like strong enough, but just that they feel confident enough just to try something, even if it doesn't last long. I mean, I wish I could, dabble in all different kinds of things as well, but it definitely, shows that they're still curious about trying to improve themselves too. And I think that's a bit on the other side of trauma, is then you're like, you feel a little more settled, and maybe you feel like trying other things, trying a different job or different schooling or different, um, you know, sport or something like that. I mean, I think that's a big, they've definitely motivated me to try some different things.
I agree with you 100%. The vlogs, actually, we're going to talk about when we do the acknowledgement series, so we'll dive much more into that because we're starting that from next week. So self-reflection, we put light meditation for at least 20 minutes, but what was different is focusing on the light you bring to the world. A lot of people won't acknowledge that they bring light to the world. We want you to do that, because every single one of us, the 6.5 billion of people in this world, have a light. Whether or not they are the best of humans, or whether or not they make the best of choices, they're still a light. Oftentimes, the boys have talked about this as well, and why they actually engage actively in meditation on a regular basis in different formats is being able to connect those parts of themselves to the world around them. So that's self-reflection is a very big one, and we'll work on probably on that one as we move forward. So self-reflection, we talked about self-truth, D-Day being self-truth, having a little bit of understanding. What song out of the set list do you think, I think, not even his, I thought every time I think about self-reflection, it's the weirdest thing, but Alone, Jimin's Alone really hits me for this song a lot. So,
well, and I was just thinking of Namjoon's. I thought his were pretty raw, especially Lonely.
Lonely. Thank you. Jimin's Alone and Lonely hit me for this song 1,000%.
Yep.
1,000%. That acknowledgement is pretty, but that's also self-truth at the same time. I think they talk back and forth, right?
Right.
We have both of them. So for self-reflection, do you think it's People? People Part 2?
Ooh. I like that too.
You see where it could fit into this concept, right?
Yeah.
Because even in the music video, he's in a meditative mood. So
that's true.
I'm thinking. I mean, if anybody has an idea of what they would, if anyone has an idea of what they suggest, what categories each of those falls into, I'm really hoping that you guys are able to see this. But if you're not able to, this is actually something that's being posted to all of our sites. So you'll be able to read the prompts that are in here. So the next one for the next day, we're not going to go through all of them now. We just wanted you to understand how to use them and how they actually match up with the set list. Self-awareness is self-awareness is it's Haegeum.
Oh yeah.
Do you think self-awareness is Haegeum, and Haegeum is also self-inquiry? I mean, or self-honesty. Oh my God, it could be all of them.
That song's, when you really read those words, I mean, he has to be commended as just an amazing lyricist.
Oh, heck yeah.
The way he can put words together. I mean, maybe the English translation is, I'm not sure how exact it is, but they're still amazing.
So he leads out with Haegeum, which is his moment of raw, absolute self. He's reflected. He's looked at his truth. He's looked at his value, and he said, "I am now fully aware of who I am. I am going to be honest with you. I'm telling you who I am." Self-awareness. That is actually why we're prompting you to look at paintings, drawings, poetry, because those are the creative parts of yourself that help you to be able to say, "I am who I am." As we work through acknowledgement, self-awareness is your key and your ticket. If you're not sure in the future, always go back to the concept of Haegeum and lifting a ban on the things that are suppressing you from being who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, he says in the song also, it says, I mean, it's about what's forbidden, right? And remember to differentiate freedom from self-indulgence. And he says, get on board now. I mean, I think he was like, this song is so, it pulls you in, that he's like, get on board. Let's go get on board with this song. I think he's trying to like, Army, come on, get on board. That's how I kind of read it a little bit. But he says, there's one part in there also where he talks about the painful noises blind you, infringes on your freedom of thought, all the controversy. So he is still talking about things that have caused some pain, right? Slaves to YouTube, slaves to hatred, prejudice. I mean, it's a pretty intense song.
It's 100% an intense song.
Mm-hmm.
So all pieces of this puzzle, all of our 10-day prompts actually all culminate in Haegeum. But in the long run, he started with Haegeum. So what he started with was to tell us, I have reached this point, Army. I want you to be aware I'm at this point. I want you to know I'm okay. And you'll see why I said it this way. And it is also the reason why I did our 4-part series the way I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I did it backwards like he did. I keep saying it's a backwards timeline, and I understood as I watched it every single time. He wanted to assure us first. He assured us by saying, I've got this.
Right.
So your self-awareness is your Haegeum, guys. That is why our podcast is called a Haegeum. Nah, you happy with the name, Angela?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, it took a while for me to, when I first heard, what Haegeum was, and he was talking on, I forget what interview. Was he on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon? And then he was describing it, that it was an old Korean instrument and things like that. But then he said there's this whole other meaning of it too. And that's when I kind of started to understand the song a little bit.
It's a song about exactly what we just said.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got it. You totally got it. I want people to know, I don't want to get lost in thought, because you do know that I get lost in thought pretty easily, right? So I don't want that to be the case. So, and then you have to pick me up off the floor. Anyway, basically,
I wanted to ask you, because you know how you really felt about Hobie's solo album. I mean, that's been over a year now, right? Instrument and things like that.
Yep.
And what did you feel? What was there anything in there that kind of spoke to you? I don't remember, something being as raw as something like Haegeum, but what did you feel?
Actually, everything is as raw.
Yeah.
He did it gently.
Yeah. Well, he went through, his debut, because they've been talking about, each one of them debuting in the order they debuted over the last few days with Festa. And, the picture that just kills me is him with his masked son, in the beginning.
The one that I posted. So it was a choice for that, posting that. I think a lot of people may hate that I made that choice. But that is the person that he has grown from.
Oh,
it was the person that they asked him to be, and the person didn't want to be. When we think about the fact that Hobie, how Yoongi said that he's been planning, this 3-part series for 7 years.
Right.
He's been planning Hope in the Box since pre-debut. That tore my heart out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he knew so early.
Yeah.
All right, you did it to me. Why do you do these things?
Well, I'm sorry. You have to acknowledge it.
He knew so early.
Yeah.
That he'd have to work on his sense of self, his sense of confidence, his sense of this he knew that this deep rooted hope that he always had inside of him could
Mhm.
be a curse as well as it could be his biggest charm and his
Right.
biggest gift to the world. And for us as army, it was the biggest gift. And sure, maybe, and in the beginning it wasn't that easy. I know that. But
Right.
they asked him to mask himself. Why do
Yeah.
you think he unmasked Mang, guys? Think about
Mhm.
it.
Oh yeah.
Unmasking Mang is a full representation of them, of him unmasking himself, because they
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
him
That
mask.
brought me to tears because to see him,
Uh,
with Meng and he was watching the video clip, that, to kind of feel, I mean, we'll never be able to feel really the sadness that he went through, but he really has come out on the other side. And I would say the last couple of years has been, like we talked about Yoongi, more joyful,
mm.
and just seems so happy. And he will just be himself.
He just completely shines, and it's not
Yeah. Yeah.
that other. This Hobie is this the oh God. I don't want to sound like I'm fawning, okay? This Hobie radiates, just
Yeah.
absolutely radiates, just pure, true love. They all
Sunlight.
do, so please don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
this Hobie,
Yeah.
you can physically see it. It's
Yeah.
this thing that's tangible. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm seeing as Namjoon grows. I've
Yeah.
always adored, and I felt that from him. But my God, that pulsating warmth of this love that they're sending to the world, it's just been growing and growing. I
Mm-hmm.
see that J Hope in the Box was his was self inquiry and
Mm.
coming. He from the beginning it was always about self inquiry. So
Mhm.
arson and then more. I always
Mhm.
see arson as actually first to more. As weird as that sounds, but then also future. And then you have to also look at um, um, reflection, and you realize he actually used our prompts in his work in his songs, so he knew what he was a very self-aware, and that
Mhm.
he was inquiring and he was trying to be honest with himself. In the
Mhm.
same way, we're looking at Jungi making that same choice with Interlude Shadow, and Interlude Shadow being able to be very honest and raw about this is the world as it's looking as it's outside of me. Whereas the ciphers, he was showing they were showing the anger
Yeah.
at fair, and they were very openly and revealing it to us, but they weren't
Yeah.
at the time saying I'm on this side of that right now. They were saying I'm aware it's here, and we're still
Right.
working through this anger. And then
Right.
Namjoon's also doing it when he's in um, hectic, and where he's talking about
Mhm.
human with Erica Badu,
Badu, yeah.
where he is talking about going to the depths of your truth and understanding that I need to then move out of that anger that's tying me down.
Right.
So that song is the one that toggles, I guess, for me with Shadow. But here's the weirdest thing: you're not gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe it. It's Haegeum, but like, okay, guys, like this is gonna sound so weird, but I actually think Somebody Does Love.
Oh.
I know it sounds so strange for
I
me
was
to
just
say
thinking about
that.
that. I'm thinking about you and you.
You,
Yes.
you, and you.
And he's just pointing to everyone
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's
yeah.
right. I felt that Somebody Does Love is the thing that came out on the other side
Mhm.
when he said,
Yep.
oh, when I put these parts of me here, I acknowledge them. I'm ready to transition to the person who's living in this state of love. Somebody does love. And I was like, oh, that's why it sits where it does in the way that the set list is done. Because
Right.
it's actually, think about this. It's Haegeum Dechita, August D, which is
Mm.
his anthem of self. And he's
Right.
like, went from Dechita to his anthem of self, moving backwards, and then just give it to me. He's like, yo, world, I'm ready. I'm done now. I don't need you. I'm
Right.
just give everything to me. I'm ready to get this for myself. And then you're going into Seesaw, where he's like, I
Oh,
understand I'm vacillating. I
right.
understand that the world is going to have, I'm going to have to balance. And then you saw Hobie in his folio on the same seesaw. They're very like in kinship, I think, because the two of them were there with Namjoon from the get-go. Then we have Somebody Does Love.
Well, you noticed it. I mean, I noticed it, in the concert. He started off and it was very raw, and there was red and black colors.
I'm so sorry. Hello, Rika. How are you? Hey, I'm so glad that you're able to grab us live too.
The comments are coming in.
She got it. Yeah. She was perfect. He's a different person. I believe it's his real self. Yes. That is exactly what we're saying.
Well, then he changed. Do you remember he changed and he comes out in the all white?
Yes. Which is why he does Somebody Does Love in that moment. It was his blossom moment. It's like when Namjoon went on that stage and everything turned to flowers. It's like, I get what you're saying. It was about the moment of blossoming. So,
well, didn't you also think though, like the whole thing, I mean, the concert performance where he is carried out and you feel like he's almost being carried out like on a death march.
It was a death march. And if you think about where he was carried out, how he was brought in that way in a dark state, then he was brought out with a lighter state with much less people. You understand as he's moving in that transition. What did I say they are? They're transitions. It's the same way that Namjoon is on that train, sitting in the same spot that he sits every time they're together, but he's by himself. And that train falls apart into pieces around him. The entire foundation falls apart and falls out from under him. All of it. And you're like, yay. You're like, I see what you're saying here, Namjoon. What you're talking about in the song with Anderson is...
Yeah, but sorry.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was just coming to mind. I felt do you want to think what I might be thinking was like a little bit of a turning moment for Namjoon? And it was in Busan.
Yet to come, Busan? When we were there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me hide this for a second. We can come back for a moment now.
We're back. Oh, sorry. Do you remember when they wrapped Cypher and he went like an out-of-body experience?
He actually did. I have video of it. I've gone back and looked at it quite a few times.
I've never seen him like that.
No, they spontaneously changed the words.
Yep.
I thought about it and I was like, they just sang whatever they felt in that moment. And he just poured sweat.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
He had something to say, and it was so emotional and raw. And I felt like, and then it just seemed like there was a little shift. Like he needed to, or maybe it was all, 8-9 years in that one moment he wanted to kind of get through and get that out. And
so remember how I said when I was singing, I'm so sorry, I'm going to make the analogy backwards, and where you're absolutely correct. I totally feel you on this one.
Yeah.
When I lost my voice screaming "Burn It" at the second concert when I was right in front of him, how I stood there and felt an entire state of a key being unlocked. And I told you it felt like in that moment, something that had been locked inside. Even after all these years, it finally just boom. And I felt it's that sense of, yes, maybe it was almost a weight coming off, but it was from here. It's from my chest. And I found myself screaming the words to it. And I thought, this is a visceral scream. That's what they did.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, maybe there are moments, when we've kind of, like you said, acknowledged we've had trauma, and maybe sometimes it's just, one of those kind of healing things in a way. I would definitely put that as a healing moment for Jin, or I'm sorry, for, yeah.
And, you have to remember that day was 2 days before the announcement, and their hands were still so tied about so many things that they still can't tell us to this day. and
Right.
understanding his responsibility and the place that he was, and how much it
Mhm.
was stressing him. To think
Yeah.
about the fact that they reached those levels of stress, where they
Right.
could either go shift into those levels of anxiety or apathy. I also have
Mhm.
to go back and think about JK's decision to step away for a while and find some quiet. And
Right.
we worried about him, but then at the same time, I when I reflected on this whole wheel of what we're doing, I thought, well, why not? If this is the strategy that he
Yeah.
needs in this moment, then
Yeah.
why not let him be who he has to be?
Yeah.
Why not just say I need to be a different JK, because I have spent my entire
Mm.
self-aware life out in the
Right.
public. I
Right.
just need to be me, and I'm an introvert, for God's sakes. And
Yeah.
you've had me be for 13 years, 12 years of my life. You've had me out in
Yeah.
the public, and you've
Yeah.
challenged
Right.
myself. But I
Right.
want to acknowledge that I am this person and that I need quiet.
Yeah.
It's the
No, and I think that's we all have different ways of dealing with it, and sometimes you and I, as maybe kind of intro or extroverts, are like, well, where'd he go? Where'd he go? What do you mean he doesn't want to be around? And it's hard for us to understand introverts when they withdraw. Sometimes that's an okay thing, and I think that educators, we are also learning this now about introverts because we grew up with being like, everybody needs to share in the classroom, everybody has to talk. And we're learning as well, about how introverts deal with things and deal with stress and deal with anxiety,
yep,
as students and things like that. And
yep.
allowing them their space is what they need. Hmm.
Yes, I 1,000%. Yes, thank you so much. It is exactly. I'm so happy that we're getting agreement on these things. And when we don't have to. One thing about the show
Oh,
is
yeah.
just because we're both educators, or we have our specific expertise in what we do and we
Mhm.
bring it here. You don't have to agree with what we say, but we
Yeah.
do try our best to kind of lead to why we say what we say. Um,
Right.
I think also in the therapeutic interval world, in
Mm.
group therapy, our patients are asked to come out of that introvert self and
Mhm.
and talk in a group session. I'd be honest with you, that's not me. And I know
Yeah.
you always think, everyone thinks I'm an extrovert, and the fact is I still score more percentage in introvert than I do an
Mm.
extrovert.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I just talked about it 2 shows ago about how I physically have found a grounding technique for me to be on this show, to be here and doing this. I found that the purpose for why I do it is the thing that grounds me and
Mm.
then allows me to come out. And I thought about that because, we have JK doing that. We have June, Jin doing that, and we have Yoongi doing that, and they're
Mhm.
all extremely strong introverts. And actually, so is
Right.
Hobie. They're all,
Right.
even though none of them technically believe in MBTI, which because it just
Right.
moves and changes. So in that sense, I don't want to compress or leave
Yeah.
us to labels anyway.
Right.
So I took off the prompts, but now I think everybody understands, who's going to
Mhm.
watch the show, understands how to use the prompts better and
Mhm.
get an idea of how we've moved them, or we've kind of used the solo era
Mhm.
songs to be able to get to that place where we understand how they themselves have gone through these 10, at least 10, these 10 stages. We've gotten
Right.
all the way to SDL, and then we already talked about People Part 2, why I
Mhm.
thought it belonged where it does.
Mhm.
And he did People, then he did People Part 2, and then he did Moonlight. And
Mm.
I think because that was his self-reflection phase, because Burnett fell straight into that part as well. And
Mm.
that was him saying, I've acknowledged, guys, I'm okay. I've
Yeah.
acknowledged, I'm okay, 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 okay. I'm letting you know I am walking out to you in this death march. I want you to understand that I'm letting go of that person. I'm letting
Right.
that part of who I was die. That's a
Right.
huge, 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 huge visceral um, manifestation. And
Yeah.
I respect and I honor Army that they all understood, that everyone understood it, that
Mhm.
everyone respected his choice to do something like that, which was very traumatic.
Yes.
bearing in mind that we're talking about suicide as suicidality as a
Right.
huge part of what he's bringing to us.
Right.
So with Moonlight, it's not a song I'm as was well. I mean, I listened to it a lot, but I
Mm.
maybe hadn't connected to it as much.
Yeah.
Then I have to figure out why he brought that to us. Like, why was this song the song that he brought to us at that point? I mean,
Mm.
he's talking about honesty, and he's talking about, well, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Right.
But the number one thing he talked about was my biggest enemy is the anger inside of me.
Mm.
The more dreadful is the battle with the laziness inside of me.
Mm.
He still
Well, and
had
that's
more,
why there's always been some jokes about that over the years, right? His
but those are manifestations of self introversion, in the sense of I need this quiet space for me to be
right.
able to be motivated to go on and get up and go on and do what I have to. So I never
Right.
really saw him as being lazy whatsoever. I think he
No,
uses
no,
I think
no.
he uses the word out of context. Jin is always like, "What are you talking about? You're literally the hardest working person. You
Right.
literally never shut down your brain." He
Right.
does. So he
Right.
says, "My biggest enemy is the anger inside of me. The
Mm.
more dreadful is the battle with the laziness inside of me. Sometimes I
Mm.
resent God, asking why He made me live a life like this, what I'm doing, and if I love music at all. What that is the place of self inquiry and self
Right.
honesty that he was sitting in at that stage. Now you know why I said this is backwards.
Yeah.
It's backwards in his timeline, because this is the point at which in the show he's getting ready to burn, where he's
Yeah.
acknowledging
Oh,
that he's burning, because here he's the chaser. He is the chaser at this
yeah.
point. He's chasing
Yeah.
himself. He's
Right.
chasing understanding who he is. So
And he
I'm
wants
like,
to burn it all down.
and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, why have I always wanted to burn it all down? Why? Why have I gotten to that place where this is what I want to do? So he goes from Moonlight going burn it is
Right.
next. I'm like, now you understand why he gets to that place. Sometimes I ask myself again, if it's possible to go back, will you go back? Well, I have to think more about that. One moment I feel like I've easily earned what I have, and the next moment I'm compensated for the effing hard work I've done. But I'm still
Mm-hmm.
hungry. Would that be karma? The emptiness that I feel after flying high, although it's
Mm.
been more than 10 years since I started in Amsongbong, it's the same
Mm.
that my head is a mess. Why is it that I still live in this emptiness, that my head is still a mess? This
Mm.
was him with
Mm-hmm.
Moonlight.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, it's a perfect transition. Yeah.
it's a perfect transition. It's a
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
freaking perfect transition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I have to tell you, people, that was the LA show where Max came and they sang Burn It. And my sister was there and she said she couldn't even video it. She said because just watching him and Max and the whole feeling, it was phones down and you had, because that was a moment you were never going to be able to,
I
you know,
don't want to talk about it. I'm so upset. No, because it was
I
one of the,
know
I mean, no,
because
it's okay. You guys
it
know
was
me.
so powerful. She said, just,
Yeah, I'm so
the
happy that
words and seeing him dancing, and just, kind of a little bit animalistic, with
yes,
the whole kind of releasing that, just burn
yes,
it, is, um,
because he's
he
yelling at
definitely
himself.
given a message.
That's
Hmm.
self introspection right there.
Yeah.
So that's where self introspection comes from.
Yeah.
So now we're in the phase of self honesty and self introspection, which is
Hmm.
moved down. It's lower down in our board. I hope everyone is going to do this board. I really do.
Yeah.
Where they understand, and I'm good with you using their songs as your prompts. Use whatever you need to from their
Mhm.
content to make this happen. Because I
Yeah.
just told you we went way back to Ginny's Bultotome error for his self-awareness, and that's like
Right.
way back. Mm, so you can understand where he had reached the Haegeum point. He's going
Hmm.
backwards, saying was the middle of me. This was me
Hmm.
going, I need to learn to get to the place where burning everything down isn't really the answer.
Right.
Instead, I have to lift the ban on understanding these parts of myself, and just like lift the ban on feeling angry and then acknowledging anger. That was a
Right.
big one for me, I think.
Right.
So we got to interlude shadow, and I already explained what I felt about that um,
Yeah.
in that moment, because that's when he started the self inquiry and the self
Hmm.
introspection.
Mhm.
And it's the ciphers, though.
Recyclers, yeah.
So when you look at the ciphers, and we're going backwards with the ciphers, ug and dung together,
Mm.
that was Rapline, baby.
Mhm,
That was
mhm.
Rapline telling the world,
Yeah,
you know what? That
yeah.
was him being part of this dynamic,
Yep,
cosmic,
yep. Powerful.
raised, empowered fist. Oh, I should
Right.
write that down. Let me write that down.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely an acknowledgement to the power of them, right? Those three that they're forced to, now that they're kind of a bit on the other side of some of their, traumatic experiences, that they're going to be a powerful force.
The
We better
thing
be
was, is
prepared.
I agree. I'm so sorry. I like, you know how my brain gets. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
I
no
don't
worries.
want to talk over you. But Angela, in that moment, we
Mhm.
actually are 10 minutes in past our show time.
Good.
But with this one, we knew it was going to take longer. I've
Yeah,
been actually sticking to an hour and 5 minutes. I've been doing so good. Um,
perfect.
but this is a deep conversation. So,
Yeah.
um, Angela, let me ask you though, do you
Mm,
not feel that in those moments they were just acknowledging, they were recognizing at that point that they had this depth of pain and that they now have the power to be able to speak about it?
right. I mean, it takes a lot of courage, right, to speak so publicly about shame, humiliation, ridicule, and that you've experienced that. I mean, it takes a lot. And then to acknowledge it and then feel like we're seeing them come out the other side, right? Because we've seen now all three have very introspective solo albums. And I
Deep
think that,
and
yeah,
dark.
yeah, there are some dark moments on all three of their albums. And I think that really seeing them being like, now we're coming out the other side and we're a force, right? We've acknowledged our pain. And they're working on themselves. Like I said, I really felt like they're working on themselves physically as well. That they've been kind of healthier overall, right? Mental, emotional, and physical.
And physical, but
Mhm.
psycho-emotional as well. I always
Yeah.
remember that's the
Yeah,
core of our concepts, because
right,
within all of that, they had to learn to work in the world around them. So
right.
now, why do you think, with that being said, that Hawk comes next?
Ooh, well, hi, yeah, that was next, huh?
Remember what Hut is about. You remember okay, so remember, he's saying, "What the shit do you know about me? About
Oh,
me?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
what the shit do you know about
Ooh, yes, yes,
and
yes.
that shit you know about me, things that
Right,
you think you're telling about me,
right.
everything that every one of these SHITs is your
Mhm,
wannabe life.
mhm,
It's you saying
mhm.
you want to be me. It's you
Right.
saying you want to find a way to be me, and there's jealousy, and there's
Yep.
just no way for you to understand who I am. How
And
can you
so,
understand who I am? You haven't been through the shit. You don't know my
right,
story. So
right.
it's your
And the
one.
way you talk about me, right? The way, I mean, media has not been so kind to them in so many ways as well, right? But doesn't that also, that's the one song that Jimin on his album talks about F your ops, right?
That's right.
So
That's what
where
he
they're
said.
kind of finally saying, we're not going to listen to what you say about us or what you say about me anymore. Your opinions or what you're talking about me, that, and hopefully, a lot of people would build up kind of a wall, right?
Mhm.
But we're still seeing that tender side of them too, which is really a positive thing, because a lot of people would maybe become a little kind of stone cold, right, when they've had so much aimed at them. And I think that we still see, like I said, like a lot of sweetness and tenderness with them.
Their juxtaposition of
Well,
sweetness and tenderness is
doesn't that
just,
go doesn't that go right into what did he sing next? He goes and sits down at the piano
and he sings
and sings
his
this sweet
version of
song,
Life Goes On.
Life Goes On. I mean, the transition. Um,
Because Hut, he said when he looked and looked and looked at everybody under the sun that he wanted to sample for that second verse.
mhm,
He just said it in the interview this week. He said the only person that made sense was going to be Hobie,
was gonna be
because
Hobie.
Hobie was the only one who could give him those nuanced, non-narcissistic,
Mm-hmm.
but innocent, but biting,
Right.
pure biting lyrics that
Right.
was not going to spare the concept that he was going for. He didn't say those words. I'm saying those words. I'm saying there was nobody who could give those lyrics the justification that he needed for HUD to make sense. Because
Right.
when you look at Hobie's words, you needed someone who knew and understood. Look at where we got to. You remember in HUD, Jungi's acknowledging that he still takes meds.
Right.
I'm acknowledging, I'm telling you, this is who I am. And the karma of my life for this kid who was accumulated, this kid from Daegu, how lucky is success. And we've flown to the White House, guys. I don't know what's important in my life. My inferiority complex explodes constantly. Here he
Right.
is still saying that it still sits. All of them, it still
Mm-hmm.
sits inside of all of them. Namjoon said, is it all the time? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who am I to have gotten to this place? It's a
Right.
constant. Everyone is trying to get hold of me around to wake me up. There's 100 ears. There's everybody around me. It's all just disgusting. How many articles and gossips and all that,
Yeah.
all that shit. And then
Yeah.
Hobie says, whatever you think, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, whatever you have, no matter what you know, no matter what you may be, I'm all about this, you.
Right. Right.
Because everything you think, Hobie says, it's worthless.
Right.
What do you need to say? He's like, this is what he's
Mm-hmm.
doing. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's off.
Mhm.
It's done. Even if I do my job, even if I go my own way, because it's a hot topic, bringing the fire back to us constantly, all the
Right.
gossip and the nonsense, my plan of burn it up, by the way, because he uses it for arson, is straight. It's what
Right.
it is. On the street, hope on the street. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
burn it. My step is deep. Go back to his lyrics where he talked about the depth of that. So now the system will, my comeback is what it is. Now the system will be an insult. That means for them going back to the system the way it was, the idol system, it's not at all something that they can do in their future.
No.
They've rewritten everything.
Right.
The machine that they've had to fight is overheated and it's going to be destroyed.
Right.
Because I don't stand adversity. I can't stand contempt. This is my line. He's like, I can't stand adversity. I can't stand contempt. This is my feedback.
Right. Right.
He wrote that thing in one take, buddy. One take.
He's so gifted, really.
I like this is
So gifted. Mm-hmm.
Hobie's
Mm-hmm.
ability to cut you down.
Oh.
Just cut to the quick.
Yeah.
With lyrics that sound so innocent. It's inside of me right now. You hear me. You know what I'm like. I'm like burning up right now.
Yeah.
So then we're going to close out. I think maybe we'll leave with it from here. The last set is really important because obviously Amygdala is there. And we'll finish up SETLIST during our Festa live shows.
Okay.
I did promise we were going to do the finale of it with the Festa live shows to the team I had put there. So we're going to do a regroup in a sense, but we're going to finish up and we're going to go from snooze to the last.
Awesome.
And that concept of the rest of the prompts. So where are we at right now? Oh my God, this was so much fun.
It was. So should we just really quick talk about like the highlights of the week?
Yes, let's get the highlights going.
We're back to, where we were talking about, the week with BTS, and sometimes we thought we wouldn't have much after the announcement of a little bit of some time off, but we have the launch of the Festa Army Room. So we've all seen that on Weavers. Announcement of Take Two, very exciting. We'll be hosting a watch party, right? Or a live release party.
You're hosting that one.
All right, I'm ready for that. So we've also have Namjoon, which is an amazing honor to be an ambassador for the military service. Spring Day, a healing message for the mission as well. I think there was a picture of him when they were quoting from Spring Day, and he had such a sweet look on his face.
I actually put a video. It's up on the.
Oh, did you see it? Okay.
Yeah, I did that video. So
yeah, I saw a clip of that. I mean, he was so proud. So Tay Tay had a live, his 3-minute 20-second, and we have no idea where he is doing something with his ash blonde hair. Very excited. He was also wearing an earring, which he does not do very often
No.
lately.
Yeah, I know, right?
What's
I
up?
love the jewelry he had on. I went on to try and get it, and I was like,
I had it, and I had it and everything, and I thought, oh, nobody knows about it. Oh, okay. It was gone. It was gone. But it was interesting. The symbol of, that jewelry is the two hands. There's a message with that holding
right
the
here.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's he always has messages in his
The majority of them message, but his are always a message. Always,
yeah,
always, always. And
yep.
Jungi's too. Jungi's.
Kind of like healing hands. And Hobie, I'm sure you were very proud. Hobie's named assistant instructor for his unit, which is not a surprise, right? We knew he would be a great asset. Festa's coming, Bang Bang Con. If you had a chance to watch this weekend, that was amazing. Now the big news that's just going to blow our whole minds is JK's possible July 14th album release.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the first thing out of what I saw some JK fans are, what is global activities? And I said, prepare for Hunger Games on Ticketmaster. If that also means
Well, that's what I thought global activities meant too. I immediately said, "Oh, I think he's going to come out and do something for us."
Yeah,
I thought that he and Tay might, but Tay might be a little less comfortable. Come out and do a show.
Yeah, by himself.
But
Maybe not.
Is Cookie going to have enough songs for him to be able to do a 17 or 20 song set?
Yeah.
And now that we saw how Jungi did it,
yeah,
actually, it's very likely.
I mean, I can't wait to hear it and see his story that he kind of puts together like Jungi did for his concert. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I got to kind of plan my fall then.
You and I have to totally plan. We have to figure out what we're doing. Oh my God. As of this next week, you and I are going to be in the same state for the first time.
For 2 months.
2 months. I can't believe it. So next week, we're coming to you, both of us together live from LA.
Yep.
And then the week after that, I'll be back here wait, I lie. Oh my God, I lie. Next week, I'm coming to you from Orlando, Florida.
Right. 2 weeks.
And then the week after, you and I are in LA when we're bringing them the 17th and 18th, our Festa event, part of our Festa event, where we're doing Namjoon with us live, with us Army. And then the week after that, we'll be back here. But we may, that'll be the end of our Festa week, I believe. That'll be the end of our Festa celebrations. Mm-hmm. It's also PTSD Awareness Month, and that's actually the focus of why we went full drive into trauma and trauma recovery. Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there's a lot to come, and that'll put us almost into July. So we'll be ramping up for what's coming then.
By then, we'll know what's coming. We will figure out what's happening with Take Two because we actually really don't know. We have our station head coming up. It'll be, I believe, maybe the 15th or 16th. We still haven't set the date, but that should be coming up. It's a live streaming party with all of their solo work, I think, and some of their more iconic, and another one with their iconic BTS Loves Army playlist that I already created for that. We have Jesus, I can't even. We just have so much stuff. But anyway, stay tuned. Yeah. I know that we went a little
lots of games and activities and wellness things, and it's just going to be, buckle up.
Now, we tell you buckle up because after this event, we are 100% going full drive as a company. There's so much that's going on with us. You'll notice that our logo has changed. As you can see, the background changed officially during the show today, which was part of our reveal. Our logo has fully changed as well. We have a new statement. We are now fully engaged in the Living Pangtan or Living Bulletproof 24/7 as our vision, as our power vision statement. We made the decision as a team. Everyone liked it, and because it's what we really. It's what Army that I talk to out in the wild engages with that term. Everyone goes, oh, we get it. Oh, we get it. Oh, we get it. And I almost never have to explain it. And I said, wow, Living Bangtan 7 seems to be a very powerful statement. Living
Yeah.
bullet 24/7. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
if that's that's what works. So we're gonna go with that. So much coming. Okay, I think we're good. We're gonna take our leave of our lovely army. Thank you to Reka and Julie for Juliet for
Juliet.
commenting.
Yeah.
And we are hope, and I know Floor was on, and we know that Terry was on.
K-pop on the Olympic Peninsula is Terry. Yeah.
Terry. So,
Mhm.
oh my God, how could I forget to say this to you? Guys, I am just gonna really quickly show you our let's see if I can find it. Our I think this is it. Our promo for our
Mm.
festa. How did I not show them that?
Mm.
We are going to be hosting events across the
Mhm.
globe in almost every continent with almost over 17 army groups. An army from more countries than that will be participating. We're actually that's the promo, but that's not the actual full one that went out on the sites. And the schedule will be coming up soon. We will actually be doing events based on European time. Hey, you're welcome. So
Yeah.
French Mommy is going to be our main collaborator, and Angela and I will actually be. So I'll be working on French on European time on your time. Angela and I will be on European time because quite a few of our shows are going to be coming to you based on that, because we have Army who are working with us from Tunisia, Qatar, right?
Yep.
Um,
French.
Uganda. Um,
Right. The French Army.
the French Army. We should have Ireland Army on with us. We have K Army coming on, right? You're working on getting that done for us.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we're working on very much trying to do the events in such a way, which is why it was hard to get the schedule done, in such a way that we're honoring our global army and not expecting them to be on our timing. So we are going to have a very interesting 53 hours. Because there's some points at which I'm like, am I sleeping?
Oh,
And
no.
then, yeah,
Speaking of.
I have no idea if it's going to happen. And
Yep.
July 10th, we're going to be bringing you a mukbang with Living Pangtan 7 from live from Orlando, Central Florida. So you're
Amazing.
doing that, and hopefully we're asking all of our army groups to join in with us live as we mukbang. So yay, our own very first one. Yay, so much happening. Oh my God, I don't even know what to do. You guys, please go to our Twitter. Please go to our Facebook. Please go to our, this is us on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
This is us on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. Please, 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 please. The number one thing I ask of you is to like and follow all of our sites. There's a lot as a nonprofit that we are able to do if we have enough followers and enough engagements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All
We're ready.
right.
Okay, Army.
All right. Good
Love
night.
you.
See you later. Take care. Be well.